Hi there, and thank you for tuning in again. For those of you who are just joining me, I started a brand new series last episode, and this one is titled Gifted and Called. And in this series, we are challenging ourselves to discover God's gifts and callings in our lives and to follow it. And in the last episode, I started by talking about the various classes of the gifts that God has put on the inside of us, and I talked about 3 of them. It was an helicopter view, talking about the establishment gift, which are the apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. The manifestation gift being the gift of the Holy Spirit. There are 9 of them, and then the foundational or motivational gifts. There are 7 of those, which are the things that characterize every believer. If you missed it, I encourage you to check out our social media pages. Check out Tenetstv or Tenets Television on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Of course, our landing page remains Tenetstv. Today, I want to zero in on the foundational gift, and in the next couple of episodes, I'll be looking at it in greater detail. These are the gifts that God puts on the inside of us, the way He actually wired each of us in a unique way that determine how we look at things. And in order to understand that, there are 7 of them. I want us to read Romans chapter 12 from verse 6. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith, or ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or either teacheth on teaching, or either exhort on exhortation, either gives, let him do it with simplicity, either rules, let him rule with diligence, and either shows mercy, let him do it with cheerfulness. So here the Apostle Paul enumerates these gifts that are foundational to us. Each person has a mix of this. These are the ways by which God has created each person, and we look at things differently. Situations, circumstances, we have different perspectives because we are different, we are wired differently. So there are 7 of them, and they are prophecy, ministry, teaching, exhortation, giving, ruling or leading, and mercy. So I will go through them quickly, give an illustration, and I will wrap up for today. Okay, so the first one we start with is prophecy, and this does not necessarily mean the person has become a prophet, but it just means that this person who has the motivational gift of prophecy sees the mind of God and declares the mind of God. You can call them perceivers. These are people who see things beyond the surface appearances. You know, they can declare truth. I remember discussing a challenge I had with somebody, and the person just put a hand on it, on the solution. These people see things, and they can't even explain why they understand what they are saying. It's because their mind is wired to see things from the mind of God. Okay, now these people tend to be clear-cut in their approach. To them, there's nothing like middle ground. It's either right or wrong, it's either truth or false. So there are people who tend to see things in black or white. Now, this does not mean that this person has already become a prophet. Like I said in the last episodes, people with this motivational gift has to do with everybody. You will probably have a mix of 2 or 3, or most of it will actually occur in the life of every one of us. Do I give? Yes. Am I a giver? Is that my predominant gift? I don't think so. Do I show mercy? Yes. Is that my predominant gift? No. But do I teach? Yes. Is that my predominant gift? Absolutely. So we will all have a mix of it. Maybe 2 or 3 will show to the fore more than the other. Like I was saying, the person who is the perceiver is not yet a prophet. He could be on his way to becoming a prophet, and he may not even operate in the 5-fold ministry, which are meant for some select people in the body of Christ who are meant to be leaders. Now let's move to the next gift, which is service. The Apostle Paul, writing again in Romans 12, says, he that serves, let him serve. Okay, so this is talking about ministry. The word service there is talking about ministry, and it's talking about servanthood. This is not the same as servitude. Servitude is bad, but this person who is going to be a minister knows that he is actually the one that is going to be the servant of all. On his own, he volunteers to do the running. So these are the people who are involved with the practical running of things. I remember when I was in the university, I belonged to a fellowship, I was in the leadership, and I just couldn't but help imagine why some people will choose to carry drums, equipment, and fix things together. That is their calling. I couldn't see. I would never do that. It's not my area of strength. I don't even know how to do it. Of course, I focus on my area. But there are people whose strength that is, they are task oriented and they enjoy doing this. Typically, it will demand that they have a lot of physical stamina. If you have attended a conference before and you see people who are carrying benches or who are ensuring that the logistics of the meeting are put together, those are people who are in sect. And typically, if we are not careful, we tend to look down on these people. We think that they are not spiritual, and that is not true. That is not true. It is simply the flesh that is making us look like that. An example of somebody who operated in this ministry was Martha in the Bible. Of course, Jesus rebuked her later and said, look, Mary has chosen the better part. That does not mean that the physical aspect of serving is not important. It's just a rebuke and a calling to action to say, while you are doing this, make sure that you are not neglecting your spiritual life. So the people who are involved in service have the tendency to overdo it and to neglect their spiritual life. So this is something that you need to be careful of if that is your own area. The other gift that is mentioned as part of the foundational or motivational gift is a gift of teaching. So this person focuses on understanding. His primary goal is to ensure that people come to the knowledge of the truth. He searches out truth, he explains things, and he wants to impart knowledge to other people. An example of this person is Apollos in the New Testament. So we see that in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 18, something was written about Apollos. Let's read it. It says, and a certain Jew named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man, mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus. This man was instructed in the way of the Lord, and being fervent in the spirit, he spoke and taught diligently the things of the Lord, knowing only the baptism of John. And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took unto him and expounded unto him the way of God more perfectly. So typically, I've said that the person who has the gift of teaching will be like a researcher. He will be interested in knowledge. He will be interested in imparting truth. And you can't you can't impart truth if you don't have the gift of communication. So typically, this person will have the ability to write or have the ability to speak. Apollos here was described as being an eloquent man. Now, Apollos did not know everything. So if you have the gift of teaching, doesn't mean you know everything. You also grow and you develop this talent in levels, because it was said that Priscilla and Aquila actually took him and they taught him more the way of God. In fact, it was said that he knew only the baptism of John. The good thing is that what he knew, he gave his best to it. He gave his best shot to it. Okay, so we also need to appreciate the gift of teachers. This is again slightly different from those who are in the fivefold. Somebody may have the motivational gift of teaching, just ensuring that he gathers people, maybe in the church, or without necessarily being a leader, maybe a Bible study or whatever, and make sure that he encourages people to move from one level of growth to another. The next motivational gift is that of encouragement or exhortation. Exhortation is the word that the King James Version used, but the more modern language is encourager, and there's no better example that comes to mind than Barnabas. Barnabas, the name means son of encouragement, and we saw him being an encouragement, a source of encouragement to a lot of people, especially the Apostle Paul. As a matter of fact, he was the one that recommended him to the apostle. He recommended Paul to the apostle and encouraged them to take him, to give him the right hand of fellowship, as it were. So other people were afraid, but he encouraged. Encouragers or exhorters are typically people who are positive in their outlook, and they are typically drawn to people who are hurting or needy, or in situations that are challenging. These people come to the fore. I'm amazed at how people like this can have positive perspectives to life and situation, no matter how difficult it could be. So when things are down, when people are cast down, when people have the tendency to give up, the encouragers have a positive attitude and encourage other people never to give up. You can imagine if Barnabas had not encouraged the apostles to take on Paul, we would have lost virtually everything that Paul had to offer when it has to do with ministry. So I go to the next one, which is the motivational gift of giving. Now, all of us are meant to give. We're meant to give our tithe. We're meant to give our offering to the work of God. But these people who have the motivational gift of giving go beyond and above the normal call of duty, because their own way of looking at things has to do with every problem has to be solved from a perspective of giving. We have several examples where Abraham comes to the fore. Abraham was somebody who had a lot of wealth, and he saw it as something that must be used to advance the kingdom of God. He distributed it. So givers have a firm knowledge that God is the source of their wealth. God is the source of their wealth. Abraham, said to the king of Sodom in Genesis 14, he says, I have lifted my hand unto the Lord the Most High, and the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread, even to a shoe latchet, and I will not take anything that is yours. Otherwise, you will say, I have made Abraham rich. So these people have a different perspective to wealth. And to be honest with you, they don't necessarily have to have a lot to start with, but their mindset to wealth, that it's a covenant thing, the more they give, the more they have. I mean, I've had people, I have a friend who has said to me numerous times, money does not mean anything to me. So this kind of person does not hoard money, but sees money as a tool, which is a right way to see it. And it's something like, look, if it goes today, it's going to come again, because God is the ultimate owner of the wealth. So this is a very good example, and we saw that Abraham was a man who had a lot. He had over 300 people who were servants that were trained, but it didn't start like that. It started small, and the more he gave, the more he got. The next motivational or foundational gift has to do with leadership. Again, we saw in Romans 12 that talks about he that ruleth. Now, ruling is the King James version. It's an old English for leading. That's talking about the person who is placed in front. And the fact that you are placed in front does not make you the boss of all. I like the way one pastor friend says it. He says, the fact that I am the leader does not mean I am the best. It just means I am the one that got here first. So the leader is the one that has a vision, he has a mission, he is a servant leader, as it were, and he is the one that galvanizes everybody together towards a particular cause. It says, let us go. The last but not the least of the motivational or foundational gift has to do with mercy. And this is related to the gift of giving, but the person who is operating in the gift of mercy is just a compassionate person. It doesn't have to do with whether there is need to give or not, but this person's heart is drawn closer to those people who are down. He wants to show compassion. I mean, these people will make good counselors, good prison ministers. It gives more attention. They will make head of welfare ministry. There are people that show help. They just want to help all the other people who may be having any needs. So all these 7 motivational gifts are meant to help the administration of the church. If you can imagine, if a church has somebody who is good in leading or in giving or in helps, it will move the church to another level entirely. So all of those are meant to help those people who are in the leadership, that is the fivefold ministry. So I hope you are seeing the connection between the two now. The 7, which everybody and anybody can operate in, are meant to support the 5 who are meant to be the leaders, the generals of the army, if you want to call it. And the 9 gift, everybody will operate it, irrespective of whether you are a leader or you are a follower who is just helping the leader. As I start to bring this to a close, I want to give an example to illustrate the interdependence of this motivational or foundational gift. And let's assume that in a room, some people were sitting and somebody came in bringing a jug of water and some glasses. And for some reason, this person trips. The mug of water falls to the ground. There is water everywhere, broken glasses everywhere. And all the people are now responding to the situation. They will all respond differently. If there are 7 people in the room, chances are they will respond from 7 different perspectives, because they have different gifts and they are wired differently. The person with the prophetic gifting or the perceiver will say something like, I saw that coming. I knew that was going to happen. Something told me. Okay, so what do we do to prevent this in the future? The person who is the minister or the person who is serving will say, oh, okay, I'm going to clean it up. It will offer to do the physical work, the practical work of cleaning up the mess. The person who is the teacher, remember, everybody sees things from their perspective. If they remember the saying that to the man that has a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So the teacher will look at it from knowledge. He will say, okay, there's a lesson for us to learn from there. How do we prevent this in the future? He will probably develop a manual for avoiding that kind of situation in the future. And of course, the person who is encouraging will always say, okay, don't worry, don't feel bad about it. He will reach out to the person and say, it probably won't happen again. And somebody who has the gift of giving will probably offer to give another cup or just offer to help. And the leader will say, okay, everybody, he will rally around everybody, call the waiter, bring a broom, let's get this place cleaned up. And of course, the person with the gift of mercy will say, oh, I hope you are okay. I hope you will probably go call for a counseling session or therapy to ensure that the person is okay. So you can see different perspectives to the same situation. Everybody looking at it from their own lens, because they are created differently. And again, I've got to say that there is no gift that is superior. Which of these perspectives will you say is not correct? All of them have a good reason for looking at it from that angle. So the gifts are different, but none is superior. I can't overemphasize this. No gift is superior over the other. The Apostle Paul says, now having different gifts. He kept emphasizing the word different. Not once did he compare the gift. Not once did he talk about one being superior to the other. So the gifts are meant to be interdependent on one another, and they are supposed to work together. When we work together, that is when we will see our lives and the church move from glory to glory. So as I bring this to a close, I want to ask you, what is your dominant motivational gift? Have you discovered it? Have you seen any that you need to develop? Maybe it's there, it's dormant, you are not bringing it to the fore. You need to work on it. So as I always say, that knowledge must turn to action no matter the cost. I just don't want you to hear this. I want you to develop that gift that is on the inside of you, because somebody somewhere is waiting for you. So I will come your way, same platform, same time. Until then, God bless you. Angel.